Hi there, many years ago I built this animatronic. Essentially it has a little Mickey Mouse which is just on a spring, a dragon and a Bart Simpson. The idea being that the doors open at the front, the bottom carriage comes out carrying with it a top carriage. When the bottom carriage is fully out, the top carriage comes out. And then the dragon tries to lick Mickey Mouse, then it comes back in again, and then the bottom carriage comes back in again. To do this, I used two motors, one motor for the main carriage at the bottom, and one for the carriage above. That meant using two screw threads to bring them out and back in again. I always thought it could be done simpler, but never really got round to trying it until recently, when for some reason I decided I ought to have a go at doing it. So here's my attempt at doing it. If we look, we've got no doors on here. They can be put on afterwards, but essentially I just have my one motor here, with a band driving my single screw thread coming through, which is connected to the top carriage. And that's what was the important part that I couldn't work out how to do. I kept wanting to drive the bottom carriage and then somehow change the mechanism over to drive the top one. But with hindsight, I didn't need to do that. All I needed to do was drive the top carriage and then connect the bottom carriage to it using, I don't even just see at the back, some little springs. We'll look at them later if I remember. So what about the electronics? Well, once again, I should have used a microcontroller, but in my wisdom, I decided to try and do it with discrete components. Ended up with a 555 timer, two relays, one a changeover and one just to facilitate the changeover, a start switch and a pulse circuit that would trigger the 555 timer. So will it work? Well, let's try switching it on. And hey presto, this little LED here shows me there's power to the to the breadboard. This LED shows me there's power towards the motor, but the motor isn't running because this micro switch then is switching it off, so it can't run. And I haven't got this relay on because the LED's off, and I have my start button here. So will it work? Well, let's try. Well, it seems to be working. This LED here shows me that I've reversed the polarity to the motor. The main carriage has come out, stopped. The secondary carriage has come out and stopped based on this micro switch here. The 555 timer has waited for about 4 seconds, and then the relay has reversed, making this green, and therefore the thing has done what I wanted it to. Didn't see when it was out that this clicked, but I assume it did, and therefore it's worked. Can't believe how long it's taken to do it, but well, I've done it at last. I'm sure the circuit is far more complicated than it needs to be. It sort of uses what's called the systems approach, whereby we have different parts to it. And I'm sure that this relay, for example, I could get rid of, and the 555 timer if I just used a transistor over here, and then I'd still need the pulse circuit, but I could get rid of a lot of it, I think. So if we look at what I've done, well, we have a start button somewhere here, so the start switch. That then triggers the state control rectifier, the SCR, or thyristor is it, and that then switches over the contacts on the motor to where they are here, so that then this micro switch at the bottom, which is stopped at the moment, the current will flow, positive flow through this switch. It can't get through that diode, but that don't matter because it can get through the switch, out, because this is the out switch and it hasn't been operated, through the motor, back to the in switch which has been operated. So that bit is up at the top. So you would think, oh, it can't go, but yes it can, because the current can flow through the diode, round and back out to the negative, so therefore it can start going again once this is in this position. Once it's got to the output, then the out switch, which is this one, sends a signal which is high, back round into this end of the circuit, where it triggers this transistor, which I need, because I've sent this high, I need to pull this trigger circuit low, and this is just a capacitor with a couple of resistors. So when the transistor goes low, it sends a pulse into pin 2 of the 555 timer. That then starts timing depending upon the size of this resistor and this capacitor. It's set up as what is known as a monostable. So the output will go high after a period of time, and after that period of time this goes high, that triggers this relay. This relay then shorts out the thyristor or state controlled rectifier and shorts that out, so that is no longer operating. So once that's not operating, the relay changes over. This one becomes negative, this one becomes positive, and so the motor goes back in again. So that's the changeover relay, that's the start button, that's the relay to cancel out the state control rectifier. The 555 timers on a little board that I built many years ago just to experiment with them. And then this is the pulse circuit at this end. As I say, it could be, I'm sure, simplified a lot. Just a transistor across here with a diode, with a capacitor and resistor. Could operate it, I'm sure, but it needs time and effort to look at it. I may get round to that, or I may not. On the actual carriage itself then, if we look what I've done to get it to work, I have a couple. Will it work now? Have I destroyed it? I don't know if we can see these. There's a couple of springs here, so that, ow, I think I've done that in. Put my finger in anyway. So that when that goes out, oops, goes back in again. So these switches, these little paper clips here, hold the two carriages together. Can I get away with it without bashing my finger this time? So out it comes, it's pulling the carriage out, and then these two springs both let go until it's gone out. Waits its 6 seconds and then goes back in again. Now one of these is holding this carriage from going backwards, but that is lifted up as this goes in, and so it can go back again. These springs I'm not too happy with, but they seem to work. I mean, they're only paper clips, but now this one is pulling the bottom carriage out. It hits this edge here and that lifts it off. The carriage is held out and doesn't go back when the top carriage goes back, because it's held on by that clip there, but this lifts that up and then lets it go back in again. That's it then. That's my attempt at a double carriage unit just using one screw thread and one motor. I'll have to have a look at it again sometime, try putting something on it to make it look so it's amusing. Of course it'll need the doors on it, but at the moment I'm quite chuffed that I've managed to get so far with it. But it really needs looking at. Anyway, so that's an update. Bye for now. Bye.